So imagine this. What if the world's largest oil reserves suddenly became the main event in a massive, high-stakes American power play? In this explainer, we're going to dive into exactly that. A scenario set just a couple of years from now that pits grand geopolitical ambition against some very, very harsh realities on the ground.
In this possible future, everything changes. Fast. We're talking about a matter of days. Boom, a military operation. Boom, a new policy to get oil flowing to the U.S. And boom, a summit with all the big oil titans. It all points to one thing. Washington is hitting the reset button on Venezuela's entire role in the global energy game.
But what does that really mean, not average oil? You know, this one quote from a guy who really knows his stuff, it gets to the absolute heart of the whole thing. To get why this is such a huge gamble, you have to understand the oil itself. Its unique, kind of difficult properties are the entire reason for the strategic showdown.
Right, so this isn't just about oil prices or pipelines. Nope, this is about a whole new chapter in American foreign policy. Some are calling it the Trump corollary, basically a 21st century update to the old Monroe Doctrine, all about securing critical resources right here in the Western Hemisphere and keeping other global powers out.
The strategy itself is actually pretty straightforward. It's got two parts. First, there's the shield. That's all about getting control of a very specific kind of oil to protect the U.S. economy. Then you've got the sword, and that's about using that control to put the squeeze on rivals who've gotten used to having it.
Okay, so this brings us right back to Harold Hamm's point. To really get the strategy, we've got to talk geology. Because the stuff from Venezuela, it's not like the oil that flows out of Texas. Not even close. It is a completely different beast.
It all boils down to a technical thing called API gravity. But honestly, it's pretty simple. The lower the number, the heavier and thicker the oil is. And when you look at Venezuelan crude, well, the numbers are so low that it's actually denser than water. It's in a whole other category called extra heavy.
And I mean, look at this comparison. It's night and day. On one side, you have your typical American oil. It's light, it's called sweet because it has low sulfur. And then you have this Orinoco stuff. It's incredibly dense, it's packed with corrosive sulfur. That's why they call it sour, and it's as thick as molasses. They couldn't be more opposite.
Here's probably the easiest way to think about it. The oil from U.S. shale fields, it's kind of like vinegar. It flows easy, it's simple to work with. Venezuelan crude, on the other hand, is like molasses. It's thick, it's sticky, and you need a totally different, way more complicated and expensive process to refine it, using these special facilities called cokers.
And this is the crucial point. This massive paradox sitting at the heart of the entire U.S. energy industry. America is the biggest producer of light oil in the world, but its best, most profitable refineries, the ones on the Gulf Coast, were built specifically to handle the heavy, sour stuff that Venezuela has tons of. It's like having the perfect key for a lock that's in another country.
Okay, so the grand strategy makes sense on paper, right? But this is where the plan smacks headfirst into a very, very expensive wall of reality. Because even if the oil is a perfect match for U.S. refineries, actually getting it out of the ground, well, that's a whole different story.
I mean, decades of corruption, terrible management, and sanctions have just completely gutted the industry there. Production has cratered, falling from a high of 3.5 million barrels a day to less than 1 million. The infrastructure, all of it, the wells, the pipelines, it's all just rotting away.
And the price tag to fix it all? It's just staggering. Seriously, experts figure it would take something like $180 billion over 10 to 20 years just to get production back to where it used to be. That is a mind-blowing amount of money.
And here is the real kicker. Even if you spend all that money, this oil is just plain expensive to produce. The break-even price for new projects is estimated to be over $80 a barrel. That means global oil prices have to stay super high just for these projects to not lose money.
And you don't have to take my word for it. This quote from the CEO of ExxonMobil says it all. It really captures why the very companies you'd need to pull this off are so skeptical. They've been burned before when their stuff got seized by the government. And when you combine that political risk with the insane costs, they're just not eager to dive back in.
So you have to ask, right? If the economics are so tough and the big companies are scared off, what is the real game here? Well, it's a huge geopolitical chess move, and it's aimed squarely at one major player, China. When you boil it down, the administration's plan is a simple three-step playbook. Step 1, get control of Venezuela's heavy crude. Step 2, stop it from going to China and send it to those special U.S. refineries instead. And Step 3, Watch China's economy get squeezed as its smaller refineries are forced to buy more expensive oil.
And this right here is why it's such a big deal. Before this whole thing, look where the oil was going. More than half of it was flowing to China, and often at a big discount, basically fueling their giant industrial machine. This is the exact tap that the U.S. strategy is designed to shut off.
Which brings us to the final showdown, that fundamental clash that's at the very heart of this story. It is a battle of massive strategic ambition versus the cold, hard facts of geology and economics.
For an investor, the logic is just brutal. I mean, why would you pour billions into a politically risky country for oil that needs an $80 price tag just to break even? Especially when you could go to stable Guyana and get oil for $35 a barrel, or even stay home in the US and get it for under $50. The math just doesn't add up.
So in the end, the whole plan pits this powerful geopolitical desire for control against the really unforgiving math of risk and cost. It's a huge, multi-billion-dollar gamble that leaves one giant question mark hanging right over the future of the global energy map.